Welcome back to another day here. This is StasiaBliss, where we talk about Kundalini awakenings and managing life force energy. How are you doing today? The day I'm recording is Thursday today, Jupiter's day. So if you're not watching this on Thursday, you are still receiving the abundance of Jupiter. Something drew you to this video, and I hope that you seek it out. Because what you are seeking is also seeking you. I can't remember who said that, but I love that quote. That's true of this whole awakening experience. So remember, there's probably something here for you, or you would not be here, but please just take what is for you and leave what is not for you. Everything I say will not be for you necessarily. The airplane causes me to think of the card that I just pulled in the tarot this morning, of the Journey card, the Chariot, and a flyby, right? A chariot, a journey, and a flyby. Maybe that's the name of this video. The Chariot card represents a journey of consciousness. It's actually usually a physical journey that you take. It can also be a spiritual journey, but in the case of Kundalini, it is a journey. So let's remember, it's not just you have an awakening and then you get there and now you're awake and it's over and there's just the hard part of transition. Like, that's not what this is. It's a journey, and it's, I believe, an eternal journey. So steady yourself for the ride, right? Steady yourself for the journey. That it's not just a flyby awakening, though sometimes we can have symptoms that come and go and that make us think, okay, that was it. But here's the deal. A spiritual awakening journey is one that has no ending, right? So it's one that we pace ourselves for by beginning to become more present with the self, more present with what's happening, with what our thoughts are, with what our feelings are, and not trying to necessarily bypass them, but how can we be with them? How can we get to know them and find, insights in them, nurture ourselves through them, like know when to go and when to stay, like when to nurture and when to play. There is like a cycle that we notice that our being is trying to align with through this spiritual maturation, that we're wanting to come back more, and I talked about this in a different video, into our natural cycle, like the one that we are naturally meant to be on. That this reality has kind of taken us into a different mode, one that is demanding of us to kind of be like a slave to a system in a way, right? And so the awakening experience is all about recognizing, like, who actually am I a slave to? Am I a slave to anything? Who do I serve? Like, what do I serve? What am I here for? This is like the most profoundest, is that how you say that? The most profound queries that one will ever face in life is, what is this journey? Who do I follow, if anyone? And the answer is, you come within. That your consciousness is asking you to connect with the God source within you. And so the more we're looking outside of ourselves, even to people on YouTube, even like me, like depending too much on, my goal is that this sparks, something I say sparks a return to yourself. And a lot of people who see me and work with me for a short time, or a little while, and then I don't see them anymore. And I take that as a good sign, that something was seeded, something was awakened. Many of them I've seen go on to be great, their great selves. And to me, that's the best. That's the best, to spark something in another human that causes them to be able to align and live their highest potentiality. Like, the hardest obstacle we faced with Kundalini is recognizing that it's a journey. Having to, and someone didn't like it when I said this in a different video, slowing down, because they wanted to just get through this process. And of course, we can get through it, but there's going to be another one to get through, like another process to go through, because again, this is not a one-time occurrence. Your Kundalini just doesn't awaken and then it's over. Like this is a life transition. You know, you don't just wake up having puberty like one morning and then it's done. Like it's going to change the rest of your life. There's not just a pimple and then you go back to being a kid. Like puberty requires you to leave childhood behind and become now a transition to an adult. A Kundalini awakening is a spiritual maturation that requires you to leave your child, like not child mind, but your unawakened, immature adult self behind for a more mature, more spiritually aware adult, human, God human. That's the journey. And so it doesn't happen in one night. It does require us to kind of get over ourselves. And as I quoted what is his name? Thomas Bly before, like turn around and eat our shadow. To just, you know, like understand that this is part of what we must go through in order to be our greatest version of self. And, you know, I know more than anybody, maybe, not more, but as much as anyone, like what a hard thing it is to own your follies, to be okay with all your parts of yourself, to face all your, you know, mishaps or whatever and see beauty in them. Like, believe me, I've got like a mile-long list of, you know, trip-ups and face plants. My son and I were walking down the block the other day and he was like, I'm trying to catch my shadow. And I said, the only way you can integrate your shadow, son, is if you fall on your face. And then the humor struck me. How very true that is. That the only way to integrate your shadow is to fall on your face. Now, one can laugh at that because who wants to fall on their face? Like, we want to avoid falling on our face at all costs, right? At all costs. And we'll get like protective shields and all this stuff, knee guards and elbow guards and helmets, just in case we fall on our face so nothing gets hurt. But in the awakening process, like, we literally have to fall on our face in our life and get through that. So it's a face plant. It's a face plant that is like a journey, like one of those repeating days for a while, you know, where it's like you're going to get to the end of the day and you're still going to be going through it tomorrow if you don't just turn and face it. It's not like something you can numb out and ignore and hope it'll go by. Like, you got to turn into this storm. You got to get on this plane or this boat or this train or this bumpy ride. You just got to get on it with your full self. And just a little update on my dad right now. You know, he's been home from the hospital about a week and a day. So thank you for prayers of him. He's going through his own journey right now. Like, I definitely see him on an awakening journey right now. And it's challenging for him. He's never been in this state of mind before. And he's hyper aware of himself and his body and his discomforts. You know, and he just wants to figure out a way to get through all the discomforts. And it's like, well, you know, you had all this stuff happen. Like, he got really sick. It was like, almost took him out, you know. And so to come back from that, to reclaim yourself from near death, you know, that's a Kundalini awakening right there. Like, it is one and the same. Like, you go to the edge, you basically meet the Grim Reaper. Like, you go to death's door, and you actually do this repeatedly. You do this repeatedly, and because you're leaving parts of yourself behind, you're retrieving parts of yourself, you're then integrating. That's the journey. You know, the tarot I love because the tarot shows this journey in a very beautiful way through the major arcana and even through the minor arcana. Like, I love doing readings because it's a peek into where are you in this journey right now? Like, where are you in this Kundalini journey of consciousness? What phase are you battling? Like, where are you? And And all the cards do that to an extent. You know, you're looking at the energy field, you're looking at the Kundalini life force, the patterning, and you are asking to see, you know, where I am in this, what I need to do, where am I needing to go? Because in our own lives, it doesn't really flow as, you know, as simplistic as just from card 1 to card 2 to card 3. Like, we're kind of jumping all around. This journey is like, well, we're at the High Priestess, oh, and then we just had a death experience, and now we went to the Emperor, and then we went to Temperance, and then we went to the Devil again, and like, we're jumping all around. And so it's not just one fluid path, because remember, you're multidimensional. You're multidimensional. So you're actually waking up to the fact that you're multidimensional, and that's a lot at first. So don't even try to chew that piece right now. If that's not where you're at, like, just hear that and set it aside for later. But recognize that there's so many layers of you that are trying to come together. Your wholeness is so big. You're so grand. I mean, you are God. God is in you, and in your neighbor, and in me, and in, you know, everyone in your family, and everyone you love. Everyone's on this journey in one phase of it or another. It's a journey. It's not a flyby. You know, it's a journey. And some people come and pop in and do their journey really quick, and then they're out of here to the next journey. That doesn't mean they're complete. It just means they're complete with where they intersected you and your life. And everywhere we cross on the web with each other is part of the journey. And like, we cross and we trigger each other's like awakening cycles, right? Like old wounds and things. Like, thank goodness. Because we couldn't get to all that stuff ourselves. Like, we actually need each other to access these points. And so if there's people that are bugging you, I love how Almeen, one of my teachers, call them the petty tyrants. Like, petty tyrants are a requirement for awakening, like, because they are bugging you. They're rubbing against something that is necessary for you to look at. And you never maybe would look at it any other way. So this person shows up and you keep being like, no, but the truth is you got to be like, yes, what is this? Like, why is this keeping on showing itself? You know, a client of mine the other day was like, I don't know about my partner, I just don't trust him. I don't know why, he doesn't do anything untrustworthy. And I was like, well, do you trust yourself? Are there places that you don't trust yourself? And if so, then look at those places and love those places about you. And she's like, well, I can't because I don't trust myself to live my mission, is what she said. And it's like, okay, we all have that piece, right? That's a universal piece. That's not just this one person, right? We all have that in a minute place. So, but if we can turn and look at that part of ourselves that hasn't fulfilled our mission or didn't fulfill our mission or was too afraid to, the you just before you did fulfill it. And that might be right now, but who knows? Like, you are fulfilling your mission whether you realize it or not. Like, this moment is part of that. So it's a conglomeration, and if you can look at, like, every part of the journey is important. Be like, oh, well, I love my high school graduate self, but I don't love my 11th grade year. Like, okay. I mean, you can get away with saying that, but to fully get the most out of the experience is to take, like, you wouldn't even be graduating if it weren't for 11th grade, or if it weren't for 7th grade, or if it weren't for 2nd grade. Otherwise, you'd still be back there. You know, so whatever you're going through right now is an important part of the journey. It's critical. Like, you might not know why until hindsight. I mean, I know that's true for like so many, almost everything that I've ever been through. In hindsight, and sometimes way hindsight, like 10 years or 20 years or 30 years later, where I'm like, oh, I see why I had to go through that. Now I understand that was preparing me for this. That was why, I mean, I've told you guys the story before of like almost breaking my back, getting dropped on my head from 6 feet onto cement floor. And I was like in the chiropractor all the time, having to realign my neck, and I had scoliosis, and I got in a head-on collision. I just kept having all these spinal injuries. And then my work became about the spine. Became about an awakening in the spine. Became about the most spiritual, emphasis on the spine ever, because I kept taking my awareness to my spine, awareness to my spine, awareness to my spine, straightening my spine, thinking up my spine. This isn't just like one day I was like, hey, the spine's important, let's talk about it. Like, this was like my whole life for like 20 years or more. And every time I had a body injury, broke a foot, I had to rehabilitate, I again had to think about alignment in the spine, alignment in the hips, alignment in the feet. And this is repeating. And that my scoliosis from like 8 years old or more, and like my mom was really good about taking me to the chiropractor like every week or twice a week, my whole childhood, to get that so it would be straight before my growth plates closed, and we succeeded. And then I just went back in and like pulled, my back out water skiing, got dropped on my head and crunched my spine, country dancing, like got in a head-on collision, like all these things that I just went back and was like, nope, we're not done with the spine yet. So whatever has been your repeating lesson, repeating, like there's gold there. There's gold there. Those devil moments, that's your freaking superpower. That's your bliss right there. The hardest things of your life, that's your Chiron. That's your best stuff ever. Best stuff ever. And you might not be able to see it right now. Someone wrote to me, and maybe you're watching now, and was like, telling me that they just, all this stuff, they're just like in a dark place. And that's just their life. And so I want to say to you, like, that's just your life right now. Like, sink into it. Read Existential Kink. Carolyn Elliott, PhD. Really good book. Or listen to it on audio. That's all your shadow stuff. 8th house stuff. Death, dying. That's Kundalini. That's occult. That's the mysteries. I guess we're on Jupiter day, so we're going big. It's 17 minutes already, and I'm not done yet. So if you're here, thank you. But all that transformation stuff, that's where the gold is. That's where the miracles come. That's where the beauty blooms. Like when we really get and we fertilize the soil and we dig the deep holes and we get the worms and we get like the best fertilizer and manure and stuff, like that grows the best gardens. And there's nothing more satisfying than cleaning something that was disgusting. If it was just so gross, like at the end of your first year of college and you had to clean out the fridge, oh, do you remember that? It was so gross, but when you clean it and it's so clean, that's what happens when these wounds start to turn around and you start doing the shadow work and you really do it and you really look at them and you really can start to see how they shine. I've given this example before, but my second baby daddy just completely not supporting us. And like I didn't have any child support from the first either. So here I'm raising these 2 boys by myself and trying to make it happen. And I could have been resentful. And there wasn't even any way for me to get money from them. One lived out of the country and one was completely not working. So there's no way to even get child support. And I could have been nasty and upset about that. But instead I was like, this must be for me. This must be my journey. And believe me, I didn't say that right away. Like it took some coaching too for me to really own that and realize that was helping push me into self-sustenance, like finding that I can sustain my own life. And that's what Kundalini is trying to do to each one of us in our own way. Like we have to find the power in ourself. We have to plug into God's source in ourself. That doesn't mean us all by our ego self, me Stasia. No, like that means the God source within, the plug, the spirit within, the way you connect to the divine essence. It's in your body. It's in your psychic centers. It's in your brain and your heart, not in your thinking brain. It's in your gland systems. It's in your energy field. So we are required to find this in ourselves. We are required to access this within ourselves. It's something we cannot be fulfilled on the outside. And that's one of the most uncomfortable things, because we want everything outside of us to fulfill us, but it can only keep pointing back to what we know. And so I use cards, and I use the runes, and I use this to help me focus on a certain thing within that needs to be addressed, because there are so many. That can be overwhelming. So many things. But what's the top priority? And you can't just say your energy, because that feels big. So if all the energy says root chakra, all the cards say root chakra, they say Ace of Pentacles, they say Fehu, the rune, if all of them, you know, yoga card says Mulindar, all of them are pointing to the same place, like I can see a pattern in that, and I can say, okay, there's some ungroundedness here. Let's do some grounding exercises. Let's bring into the root. And the cards and the runes and the I Ching, they will do that. They will all echo the same message. I mean, I did a reading yesterday and got the World card 3 times for this person. I was like, this is like screaming at you. There's a completion energy. There's an ending and a beginning. It's so clear. So I love the cards because they will reiterate what we can't get ourselves to believe, that we already know inside. Like, we know it. We're all intuitive. Like, we maybe haven't listened, and we maybe blocked it out, and we maybe don't believe ourselves, and then we go back later and be like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew that was going to happen. That's your life force. So it's a journey. It's a continual journey, but the relief is that every time you go through a process again, you get better at it. Just like jump roping, or riding a bike, or swimming. You couldn't do all those things the first time. Well, maybe you could, maybe you're really great, but you know, the first time you played a certain instrument, like if you finally got good at it, is because you practiced. Like, you couldn't go to the bathroom by yourself. Let's take an easy one that we could all, like, you couldn't do that for a long time. And even potty training, right? You took some time and some accidents occurred. We'll overlay that same learning thing over this whole big process of spiritual maturation. Think how long it takes for a child to become an adult. Some will say, some never became an adult, right? They never really like initiated themselves into adulthood. Even though we have puberty, like we kind of can flow with those pubescent energies longer, and why this culture really needs rites of passage ceremonies, which is another thing I do, by the way. Rites of passage ceremonies, really important to help your consciousness click. Okay, I'm leaving this stage, I'm going to a new stage, which is also why sessions and readings are great, because they are helping you move from one stage to another. So on that note, I am just going to put this out there and see what the response is. But I got like a hit to maybe just have an intro to like Kundalini Awakenings, like 6-week class. And of course, even if you've already been through one, these are the same things you would need again and again and again, the same protocols, the same techniques, and the same process of understanding your system, like what best supports, what things you need to look at that might be pitfalls. If you are interested in something like that, I haven't solidified it, but I'm thinking that might be a thing. So just put in the comments like yes, if you got this far in the video and you would be interested in that, let me know, and I'll let you know more about that. Otherwise, if you would like a session, my email's below, my website's below. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get my daily videos for inspiration and for supporting you in your awakening process. I hope you know that I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Someone is here for you on this planet. If you don't feel like anyone else is, let me be here for you during this transition. Whatever phase you're in, wherever part of the world you're on, I am reachable. Readings are always done by donation, and if you want just a regular session, you can go to my website and look at rates there. And also, those are sliding scale, but like someone said in a great blog I just read, I can't pay for my groceries with a galactic insight. So I do appreciate your support and you being here. I love doing this. I love what I do. I love this human awakening process. So I'll see you again tomorrow for Venus Day, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Namaste, friends, and I love you.